All right, we are back. We are back, OMFL. I apologize about the difficulties here. We've had a few laughs here in the moment, so I apologize if it sounds like we are high. We are not high. Maniac just shared some helium with us, but we're good. Anyways, to kick off our show, welcome to OMFL's Down and Distance. This is episode 4, labeled 3 because it is the third episode with Maniac, but it is officially the 4th episode. So yeah. But welcome to our weekly show. We're happy to have Cincy and Maniac join myself for another week's show, and welcome, guys.
All right, thanks for having us.
Where was that going,
We got a
man?
little and gossip.
Absolutely, and I hope we've got our mic issues figured out here now. So if we can get somebody to confirm that we're good, that would be awesome. Or if you guys
This
would
is
like to check
ugly football.
and make
right
sure that
now.
your voices are coming through, but they, on my end, are showing that they're going through. So I hope
Can I
all
make
is
a
good
field
there.
goal?
But Maniac, welcome to another week's show. We're happy to have you, as you have become a consistent, no longer a special guest, but a consistent part of our show here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come in with you guys, and you put me a mailbox up, and so I'm here to stay now. So
Absolutely. So we do have a lineup tonight. We're going to talk about the playoffs, being that we are in the middle
All right.
of crunch
I'll take
time
it.
with 4 weeks remaining as we just advanced to week 15. Matter of fact, we've got a game that is taking place right now as we speak. Uh, Kind of some OMFL late night action, as we like to call it. Nate and the Saints is taking on Colin and the Giants, which is a big game. But we'll tune in here in a little bit and kind of do some updates throughout the show on that. But to get started, our playoffs is pretty tight race here. Let's kind of look at the playoff picture. As you guys can see, I've got the picture up from Madden inside the league here. Just to quickly run down things. We got the Jets at 1, Bengals at 2. This is the AFC. Bengals at 2, Chiefs at 3, Colts 4. Those are your 4 division leaders. Wild card, we have the Bills at 5, Browns at 6, and the Ravens at 7. Jumping over to the NFC side, our 4 division leaders. At this point in Week 15, we have the Niners at 1, Saints at 2, Giants at 3, Lions at 4, and our wild card is the Commanders at 5, Cowboys 6, and Packers 7. I was looking at a few things, which I will pull up as we are wrapping up the playoffs and kind of looking forward
You got really
to the
open
last
too.
4 weeks here. The AFC is pretty decided. Who's going to be in it? It's just going to be a matter of seeding. With the 7 seed being the Ravens at 8,
All
4,
right,
and
2-minute
1.
warning. Game
They
feels
pretty
like
much
it's
have
taking forever
the
for
last
this.
wild card spot, unless it's just an epic meltdown. The Texans still are alive to dethrone the Colts, which then the Colts could take the wild
Oh, you
card if
guys.
that were to happen. But
That's
that
where
would
you're
be about
supposed
the
to
only
be,
thing that
man. You
would
got to step up
pretty
and make
much
that play.
change. The other thing that could change is the Jets and the Bills, who wins the division and wild card. Bengals, Browns, who wins the division and wild card, and obviously the Ravens, if they could have a really good stretch. I guess they could also win the division, but it would take some wins there. In the NFC, we've got the top 5 spots are pretty much locked. The bottom 2 spots are up for grabs. The Cowboys at 8-5 are holding on to the 6th seed. The Packers at 7-6, and my Bears at 7-6, and the Panthers, who have come into the picture at 6-7, are fighting for that 7 spot. Unless the Cowboys lose a couple, they're probably going to stay in that 6th spot. So to come down between the Packers, Bears, and Panthers for that final spot.
I got it.
7 seed in the
Give me
NFC.
a buck. Give me a buck.
With
Outright,
that being
guys.
said, let's kind of jump into
Oh,
right into it. What are your
got
guys'
it.
thoughts,
I don't know how I
surprises?
got it,
You
but I
know,
got
what's kind
there.
of shifted over the last couple weeks
Pick
since our last
6.
show?
That is
Anything that you guys want to talk about
Exactly.
in regarding the playoff
doctor
and
would
its
argue.
seedings that you guys see?
All right, so I'm going to start over in the AFC on my end and head over to the North. I think the surprise is the Bengals
that
are
is
still leading
massive
the
for
North.
me right
They might
there.
not get all the credit, but you know what? They're hanging in
He
there.
was definitely
They
coming
won
in
a couple
to
games
take
in
the
a row
lead.
now. And yes, they do have the Browns chopping right behind him, 1 game out. He's on a 7-game win streak with 4 games left. The key is, do we still think the Bengals are going to hold us off? We've been doubting them all season, but the Bengals have held first place for a majority of the year. Now, there are a couple big matchups. Week 17, the Bengals and Browns do play each other, so that could be a pivotal AFC North championship game there. What else do we have to look forward to, Maniac?
My iPad just kind of. My bad. My iPad just kind of
There you go,
died
Peyton.
there for a second, so I had to plug it in. No, I think it.
Not gonna use the
I think
timeout.
you hit the head right there on the nail there. But I think one of the things that is surprising on the AFC side, the New York Jets. I think they solidified themselves as being the number 1 seed. I know I was really high on Bill coming out and stuff, but the Jets took care of business with Bill. I think they do have another
Good back to
matchup
shoulder throw.
here coming up in the next couple weeks, so that'll be a pivotal matchup.
Young.
And then also just want to point out the Cleveland Browns. About 5 weeks ago, we were looking at the Browns as being a team that was probably going to miss the playoffs, not even have a shot, and now here we are. He's the on dailies he shows the 7th seed, but I'm assuming in Madden he's probably the 6th seed. So, that's probably one of the most dangerous teams you could even have ever in the OMFL at that seeding. And I mean, Denver is just so dangerous. And over on the NFC side, I know the Commanders with Penguins.
I love them.
I don't know if he's taking some time off, a vacation, whatever, but he really had that team rolling. He did run into kind of a stumbling block, I think, a couple weeks ago. But you can't say enough about Nate and the Saints, though. Too. I mean, he has just done a fabulous job with that young quarterback that he's got. And then also Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay. I'm surprised, that he had the start that he did. I think he's fell off the last few weeks. You're gonna have to dip back into the holy water again, Priest, because it's kind of drying up on you, and stop chasing records and getting back to what was winning football games. But also the guys here that are on the bubble, I think could be interesting. The Carolina Panthers, one in particular, because 3 weeks ago I was calling the NFC South, other than the Saints being rolled and done and out of here, and now the Panthers have kind of rode a 3-game win streak, I believe. So just enough to make things interesting. So it's exciting times in the playoffs in season 104.
Absolutely. You did nail that perfectly there, that the Panthers are on a 3-game win streak. They did beat the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Bucks the last 3 games, and coming off a bye week here, week 14. They've got the Falcons, the Lions, the Cardinals, and the Chargers in their last 4 games. Definitely the Lions could be their tough one, but the other 3 definitely winnable games based on how those 3 teams have played so far this year. And I definitely think Black Cats could give Trey a run for his money in Week 16. So be interesting to see how that plays out. My biggest thing that I have is Penguins with the Commanders was on a vacation. I think he's coming back here soon. But he's lost 3 in a row. He lost to the Browns, the Ravens, and then he went on a bye week, and they just got beat against the Giants. He does have the Eagles, Cowboys, Lions, and Bucks to close out the year. So it'll be interesting to see how things play out because the East is up for grabs with all 3 teams, top 3 teams there, Cowboys, Commanders, and Giants. You mentioned Nate, and we're talking a lot about the NFC East right now. We do have a matchup that is taking place as we speak. The Giants and the Saints are playing each other, which is a huge matchup on the NFC side of things, but also a huge impact on the NFC East. And currently, Nate is up 17-14 at half. So that'll be a game to kind of keep an eye on here down the stretch in the second half, because seating wise, but also the Giants competing for the NFC East.
What I just experienced.
As Penguins has been out of town, Colin needs to keep their foot on the gas here. But Nate's also in the 2 seed, so that's a big game. Myself, I've got a couple games coming up that are tough. I've got the Cowboys on the road, and then I got the Texans at home, and then I got the Colts on the road. So those are going to be 3 tough games for me to fight out for the 7 seed. And then, since we already talked about the Panthers and myself, we can take a look at Priest. And Priest lost to the Jaguars in Week 14, which was a huge shock. And he did lose to Cullen the week before. So he's lost 2 in a row. Closes out his season against Bird and the Cardinals, the Niners, D-Money, Tim and the Rams, and then Cincy with the Colts. So a couple tough games there as well. Be interesting to see. Like I said, tight race in the NFC, and then in the AFC we got a couple things that could be between the Bengals and the Browns, the Colts and the Texans. And even the Ravens are in the picture, so it'll be interesting to see down the stretch here. With that being said, we kind of have some guys in the picture that are on the bubble. Do they get in? But let's hear what your OMFL bowl prediction is for season 104. We're going to go ahead and start with you, Maniac. What is your OMFL season 104 bowl prediction?
Well, I feel like there's a lot of possibilities, but I'm going to look at
Did we lose
one. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to turn both the PlayStation and the Discord on, so my bad. There's different possibilities that could go. I know there's still some time in the season, but I'm going to say it's going to come down for the AFC side. It's going to come down between the Jets and the Browns. I think the Colts are going to be in the mix. But I'm going to call the Jets being the winner in the AFC side to face off in Bowl 104. And, of course, this all comes down to Mr. D Money, whether or not he does play or he doesn't play. It's like he loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not. So does D Money love the OMFL enough to set aside and not play in this playoff or not? But if he plays like he did last season, I think he will be the representative for the NFC side. If not, I know Nate will say don't put that on me, but I'm calling it the Saints are going to make the season 104 bowl for the NFC side.
Solid picks there. Solid picks. I know Nate, we'd probably get one of his finest reactions here in that. I'm watching this game, and already seen a couple good reactions. So when he does tune in, I'm sure he'll be like, "Oh, maniac!" One of his finest reactions. But we won't be able to see it, unfortunately. But Cincy, let's hear what your season 104 OMFL bowl predictions are.
All right, I'm gonna go with Old Faithful here. Some picks I was thinking at the beginning of the year on the AFC side here. I'm going with Denbrough. He's been there 4 straight times. I think he's gonna make it a 5th. He's found his gear and he's going 100% right now. Now, even if he loses week 17 to the Bengals and ends up a wild card, I still have him as my pick right now. I just think he's going to be a top cap. You guys aren't made for the playoffs. NFC side? No. When he plays, he doesn't play. I don't really care. My money's on the pilot. I've been talking about Penguins all year, man. He's my guy for OMFL season 104. He's the NFC winner. But I got Browns, Commanders.
Browns versus Commanders. Denver versus Penguins. That'd be a solid bowl game to watch. I'd also like Maniac's pick. That'd be a fun to watch. You can't go wrong with those picks. I am going to call it here, and whoever wins the AFC North, I think has the legit shot to be the representative in the OMFL Bowl. But it's so hard to pick against Denver because he's been there 4 times in a row. But then I remember one thing, and unfortunately I have to give credit where it's due. And old Trey pointed something out on Press Pass Live, and I didn't really think about it as clear and as thoroughly as he did. And in the first season in Madden 23, Mr. Kobe with the Falcons before he switched to the Jets did beat Denver. And so, with that being said, I'm going with the Jets as my AFC representative. I think it's going to be a really fun AFC gauntlet. There's a lot of teams, Shocks, Cincy, Bill. I do have the Colts winning that AFC South still. But I think Kobe wins the AFC. And it's going to be either Kobe versus Little Koch or Kobe versus Denver. I'm going with Little Koch the way he's been playing the last couple weeks. And I think it's a close AFC championship, but Kobe wins it. For the NFC side, I'm going to go with, and I can't go against him. It's D-Money. I think Nate's as solid of a pick this year with the way his defense has played. And Colin has been playing really well lately. But I just question if he has what it takes to beat the top dog. Trey, you struggle in the playoffs, and you just got beat by Bill last week, which was a shocker. And then I feel like Penguins gets so mightily close, and gets all the way to the end and then loses the one game that gets him to the OMFL Bowl. Or maybe he makes the OMFL Bowl, shocks me with the upset, or, as Maniac mentioned, D-Money takes the playoffs off. If that's the case, Penguins would probably be the guy. So I have kind of pretty much the same thing you guys got. I got Kobe versus the Niners, unless D-Money takes the playoffs off.
I have the same thing. I don't got D-Money in mind.
I know you got, but that's why I said if D-Money takes the playoffs off, I got Kobe versus the Commanders. So
that would
said,
be some interesting matchups. I mean, if you think about it, my pick Saints versus Jets. That's old rivals from the NFC South with Kobe and Nate, and then if you have the Browns and the Commanders, because also their old rivals from in the AFC North, because the Penguins was the Steelers from last Madden. And then, of course, then you'd have the Jets versus the 49ers. D-Money and Kobe have had several NFC championship games in the last couple of Madden, so that would be some interesting matchups.
Yeah, I mean, obviously some familiar blood, which, you know, we talked about on Press Pass Live. Oh, Nate just broke out a huge run by Kamara. He was down 17-21, but just busted out about a 60-yard run, so he's back up on top, 24-7 or 24-21. Sorry.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been down. There was a wacky play in the end of the first half. We'll talk about later.
Yeah. But yeah, pending an extra point, 24-21 with about 4.5 minutes left to go in the third. As an update. But yeah, I mean, you got some familiar blood there, you know, in old rivalries. But we've got, like, as we talked about in the Press Pass Live, the parity in this league is I think greater than it's ever been. So it's fun. But I think the old blood like comes through at the end of the day. With that being said, we're going to move on. You know, we've got some big games that have happened and taken place over the last couple weeks. Go ahead and just give me like one or two games. We'll kind of talk about the recap of what those games were, what took place, and it can be any game from week 12, 13, or 14. Maniac, if you have a game, let's go ahead and start with you.
I don't know what we're
and
talking
like I said, it
about.
can be one or two games.
I don't have a message about Echo.
Because I can
Echo right now.
I can have a problem of rambling and talking about several different teams. So the one I want to look at is week 12, and I think one of the biggest games that there was that week was the Colts versus the Lions. This was kind of like a barn burner, and the amazing thing about it was that we have two different sides of a tale here. The Indianapolis Colts basically could not do no wrong. I mean, really only had one turnover, and then the Lions had 4 turnovers. So, and that was the big difference in this game, with being 36-33. I think Carr was very efficient in this game, 267 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then, of course, you know, he had a solid rushing attack. But I think Bono touched on this on the Madden Franchise podcast about Michael Thomas, his resurgent. I mean, the Colts have just absolutely done wonders to resurrect his career, because he was kind of dying there in New Orleans, but he has just lit things up so far for this season for the Colts. And but you know, on the flip side of things, Trey in Detroit, they had some really good offensive output. Pritchett didn't have the 4 interceptions, but he did have 3 touchdowns. He was kind of flinging the ball around, and then of course, and he's got his wide receiver Williams with 9 receptions and 133 yards. That was kind of like his whole offense was that one player. So it shut him down, and it was kind of lights out for there. But that was my pick, and a very interesting game that week.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch. I caught the tail end of it, and I'm glad I caught the tail end of it because it went into overtime. I got to see obviously the winner of the game, and you know, the end of the game was just it was a fun one to watch. But I've said it, Jameson Williams, he's a beast. I play him twice a year, 99 speed. He's got the size, and since he found a way, you know, I think I would call it damage control. I mean, he did his job. He had 9 catches, 133 yards, 2 touchdowns. But then you look at the rest of it: Bolton 262, Swift 348, Parham 1 for 23. I mean, no one else really busted out. And even in the running game, 10 for 32. Swift had 6 for 20. So he you know, let Jameson Williams do his thing, but it was a damage control thing, and he got 4 interceptions. I know Nick Cross had a big game in this game, which was kind of interesting to see a guy like him stand out because he had 3 picks in this game from a strong safety standpoint. So, fun game to watch. But Cincy, what game did you want to discuss or talk about from week 12, 13, or 14?
I'm gonna go to week 13 here. I watched this full game here. I watched a lot of this person's games. It's gonna be Nate. He took on the Cowboys in a big game, week 13, and final score 16-3 Cowboys. It's a pretty boring game, honestly. But like I said, if I was in Nick Crow, I'd probably watch Nate pretty much my help. And it's been a fun season to watch him. He's sitting in the 2 seats, so he's had a lot of fun games to watch. But this was a game that I was worried about. This is Nate couldn't find offense to save his life, and that he's been all about defense. We talk about his defense, but he could not get anything going offensively. I mean, Roy Alford was pretty horrendous. He had a couple picks, I believe. Only I think 9 for 15, 9 for 16, something like that, which isn't too crazy, but he just had no yards. Kamaro, did his thing. He gets almost 20 carries a game, so he usually gets close to 90, 100 yards, roughly. But the backups didn't really help out. His big receivers, Olave, and his big tight end, JJ, couldn't separate from the secondary of Dallas. And you know what? It was a good defense. Field goals. Given Nate and if I get it, but turnover, fumble, figure it out. You just couldn't figure it out. And you know what? That's going to be his weakness, I think, in the OMFL playoffs. Is going to be offense. So if he can't score consistently, defense don't win you championships. Not in my eyes. You gotta be able to score.
Yeah, I think turnovers can be detrimental to a team. Something like Nate, where his defense has been so stout and getting turnovers for himself, but that offense has to be consistent. And you mentioned it, but Alford has had a pretty efficient year, and 9 for 15, 60% completion percentage. Percentage isn't the worst. But 133 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, 49.4 rating, sacked 3 times. Just kind of a rough game. He relied on the run game, which Kamara, 19 carries for 90 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, but no touchdowns. It just isn't going to get it done against a defense like D. Wayne, which we know he's capable of. And that's why we talked about it multiple weeks. Press Plus Live, our show, D. Wayne's hasn't been D. Wayne of the norm, and but I know that he's trying to get stuff right, and so here I am playing him this week, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. So it's an interesting game. I agree. Definitely a game that I wanted to watch. I did not get to because I was at work and school in the classroom, so I was not able to watch that game when it was played live. I wish I could have. My game for week 12, 13 that I would like to cover was, I thought it was week 14, but I might be wrong. Oh no, it was week 13. There's so many games that I felt like could have been covered because like the Dolphins and the Browns this game. Here it is. Week 13, Packers and Giants. This game I feel like it's just a huge game for both teams. We talked about both teams in the NFC, and I just know so much about the NFC North. But Priest has had every opportunity in this season with his start to take control and just run and have everybody chasing him. And he hasn't been able to figure it out, and I'm like struggling to figure out how, because he was off to such a hot start.
Very confused.
And then I
by
look
that.
at these stats, and I'm like, the Giants have played good ball. And the MO at the beginning of the season was the Giants were finding a way to win games. And I think that's what this game, I wanted to watch this game. I did not get to. But Blase for the quarterback, Yannick Blase for the Giants, he didn't have any passing touchdowns. He did throw for 305 yards and 1 interception. So I'm like, how did he win this game? And Barkley, 20 carries, 91 yards with 2 touchdowns, definitely would help. And being that he had 38 points, I'm like, well, he's had
Guess I
defensive
can't be mad
touchdowns.
about halftime anymore
And
because
we go
we're
look
pretty
at
much
it,
even.
and I'm pretty sure he had Kayvon Thibodeau had a touchdown. So I mean, we look at this, and it's kind of been the recipe of disaster for Brees, and why he's struggling to close out the wild card spot that he's in. I know he's capable of it, but Rodgers, 3 picks, 2 touchdowns, 246 yards. This is the Rodgers before season 104. The start of season 104, it would have been like 4 touchdowns, 1 pick, or 4 touchdowns, no picks for 346 yards. So, and Clancy had a decent day, 13 carries, 81 yards, no touchdowns. But where is your backup running back? 7 carries for 21 yards. Dylan falls forward for 3 yards. So how is he averaging only 3 yards on 7 carries? Like, I just am struggling to figure out where the production is on offense. And you didn't get lit up on defense because Blase had no touchdowns and only 2 rushing touchdowns. So kind of like confused. But the Giants win this game with Penguins and the Commanders being out of town and the Cowboys situation. This puts Colin in place, and that's why he's sitting in the 3 seed in the NFC right now. And as he's battling Nate here in this Week 15 game, it's 31-24 with 8.5 minutes left to go. The Saints are up. This is coming down to the wire. So this is why I chose the Packers and the Giants for my game.
This guy
big game
just
to
is
kind of cover for
pinpoint,
the
like,
3 weeks since our last show.
he is accurate,
One game
man.
that you did get to watch from Week 13 or
See why he's
14,
putting up these
I'll go ahead and
numbers.
start. The one game that
He
I
literally
did get
just
to
puts
watch
it wherever he wants it.
and I enjoyed watching was it Week 13 or 14? Was the Jets and the Bills. It was Week 13. This is a game that I had highlighted because I was really interested as Bills played solid from season 103 and 104. Kobe being kind of the top dog
I literally
in the
told
AFC,
that
and
play
they were
was
tied
flipped.
going
I told my
into this
cornerback,
week's
oh my
game of
gosh,
Week
man.
13 for the division. I believe they were both 10-2, but the win that Kobe got this week at 31-17 put him in sole possession and in total control of not only the AFC East but the AFC in general. So this was a big game, and I enjoyed watching it. Kobe showed what he does well, and I mean, Kobe's never been. He's capable of having good offensive numbers, but he just plays such good football from a defensive standpoint, and he's been utilizing Brees Hall pretty well this year. Brees Hall didn't have one of his best games, but he had an efficient game with a touchdown, 60 yards, and Kobe threw for 159 yards, only 1 pick, but the key stat was he did turn over Josh Allen 3 times, which that's what Kobe does. So big win for Kobe as he got the big win, 31-17 over his division rival, the Buffalo Bills, to put him in sole possession. What game for you, since he was the one that you watched and wish everyone else would have been able to tune into from Week 13 and 14?
Honestly, viewers, I'm not gonna lie to you. The last 2 weeks, I've only watched Nate play, so I don't want to talk about Nate again. I'm gonna play the fifth on this one and let Maniac pick up 2 games potentially.
Pass.
Maniac, you have a game or 2 since Cincy. If you just have one from week 13 or 14 that you felt or wish that everyone in OMFL and outside the OMFL would have been able to watch.
Okay, well, I did get to see from week 13. I actually did get to see the Cowboys and the Saints. That was a pretty interesting game to say the least, because that one was a definite defensive battle. And I know you kind of already spoke on that, so I don't want to go too much more into it. I did get to watch a little bit of the Giants and Packers as well. That one was a kind of a barn burner. And again, I think Priest is falling back into that old habit of the gunslinger that's slinging around the yard, and because it's fun, but ultimately it hurts him in the end. So, I do watch a lot of Nate's games as well. Unlike Cincy. Now, not to rub salt into the wound, but I did watch this big game today that was between the Texans and the Colts, and I was not expecting that outcome. Carr struggled today, and just I was talking like three weeks prior how Carr really had a great game against Trey and the Lions. Well, today it was just completely, totally opposite. It seems like he was missing throws, overthrowing, had open receiver that he would just throw the ball in the incorrect spot, and of course then there would be a pick. But he did have 354 yards passing. He was down, so he had to pass. But this game was, I think, kind of like a no, I'm not saying per se statement by the Houston Texans, but I think it was a game that says, okay, the Texans are kind of who we think they are. He's not really prolific on offense, doesn't have a lot of offensive firepower, but he's kind of efficient. His defense is pretty lights out. I'm telling you, like there was some pass rush in this game that was just insane. I mean, I was telling Cincy once that as soon as he got the ball as the quarterback, the ends were already block shedding and heading into the backfield before he even started the animation of the drop back. So it was that was an insane game. And of course, I think there was a few people who got to watch it, but that was definitely one that caught my eye.
Williams.
Yeah, I did not get to watch that game. I was also at work and did not get to see that. I wish I could have, because I was very interested in this race in the AFC South. As hot as Rodgers been, and as consistent as Cincy's been, I thought this would be a good game. Can you hear me now? And yeah. So
we can hear you now.
I definitely think this was an interesting game. I was at work. I did not get to see this game. I wish I could have. As hot as Rodgers been, and as consistent as Cincy's been, I thought this would be a really good game. And I came home, logged on, went to go play my game against the Titans, and saw the score, and I was like, what happened? When I look at the stats, I mean, seeing Carr 354 yards, pretty usual. See him around the 300-yard mark, but 2 touchdowns, 4 picks.
Luckily, I got the
and only 2 sacks. First thing comes to mind, either he just had one of his off games, or that pressure is getting to him and throwing just as the pressure is getting there, and that type of stuff. So I noticed in the ground game, Jonathan Taylor had 0
Good
carries, so I
breakup.
don't know
I
if he
thought
was
I had
hurt.
that.
But
My guy's 5 of 16.
David Cook. So that.
Yeah, he got hurt. Right.
I should be up 14.
So a big loss there. Jonathan Taylor, being one of the top rushers all season, and not having him, and then you rely on a second-year player, David Cook, who didn't have a bad game. 11 carries, 53 yards on a touchdown, almost 5 yards per carry, just shy of that. But
As per usual,
here's the big number.
we need another defensive
Keenan Allen,
start.
4 for 116. Michael Thomas, 6 for 97 and a touchdown. We knew the numbers are going to be there for the receivers, but it just came down to not having Taylor and 4 picks. And Roger comes out with a big win. Kind of a shocker, though. Just kind of a quick update here. Looking at Nate and Colin's game, we've got about just under 4 minutes. And the Saints are up 31-24 still. 2nd and 3. Colin does have the ball and just crossed midfield. So still lots of game left to be played, and it's only a 1-score game, and Colin does have the ball trying to tie it up. With that being said, we've kind of covered those games that we wanted to have everybody make sure that they did watch. If you missed it, go back and watch them. But as we always do, what's our game of the week to watch? What's coming up that we want to make sure everybody tunes into for week 15 or 16? Cincy, you're first.
All right. We want to tune in to. Well, I did have one game, honestly, but then I looked at the scheduling and the guy's on the auto, so bear with me.
You look over that. I also forgot to mention.
Go ahead.
Maniac, you had me worried when you said that there was one game in week 14 or 13 when you were bringing up Cincy's game. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, don't do it, not a sore subject, because I thought you were bringing up my game with the Dolphins and how I lost at the end of the game, and then you said the Colts, and I was like, sigh of relief. But we didn't have to go over that, as that is one game I want to put behind me. Cincy, did you find the game, or do you still need more time?
Nope, I found the game.
All right, let's hear about it.
Oh, no.
All right, the game that you should be watching.
I won it
Already
34.
It's the Bears and the Cowboys.
So
Just a big hurt.
tired. Oh,
Yeah, I'm not too
Matthew.
sure how this game's going to turn out. I know the Cowboys have quite the roster. Looking at
It's a
injuries,
staple, Trey.
Devontae Turbin
It is a
is
staple,
out
buddy.
with an abdominal tear for 4 weeks. Leo Collins is out with a torn labrum for 3 weeks. And the Bears have no injuries. We just had 3 guys come off of our injury list. This will be the first time since probably like the first couple weeks I've had a full healthy roster. So I'm glad that we're getting our roster back here when we need it, because this is definitely a big game. If I lose this game,
Great pass.
I'm going to be needing some big prayers for Priest to continue to throw 4 picks a game and Black Cats to cool off, because he is surging, and my only hope at this point is the 7th seed. If I do beat the Cowboys, I somehow
Works all
can
the
sneak into
time
the
if you
6th
play
seed,
me.
but I need a little bit of help, as he would need to lose another game and I'd have to win out. And I already spoke on
I'm
it.
surprised
I
no
have
one has any
Cowboys,
comments about what
Texans,
happened
and the
before
Colts
halftime.
the next
That's
3 weeks. So,
still
gonna be
scratching
tough.
my head about why
Um,
that felt legit.
As far as that, Maniac, what game are you looking forward to in week 15 or 16?
Well, there's several that could be picked from. Obviously, it seems like there's a lot of in division rivalry games this week. Kind of winding down the season, we got Ravens and the Browns. That could be a big matchup, especially with the playoff seeding. I know with Nip, you never know what's going on with him with his life and stuff. But the
I
Browns
stopped
are
them on the 47.
come back to
Calls
life
a field
here
goal.
and
He
surging
let the play
towards
Maniac,
the
I hate
playoffs
to
and-
cut you off
3 or
real quick, but we
4.
do have a second
I
and goal on
called
the
a
1
timeout
yard
because
line
I
with
just got
51
nervous about
seconds
jumping off
left.
sides.
Oh, what a big stop. Nate gets
After the
a
timeout, he
6-yard
calls a Hail
loss
Mary.
here.
I
3rd and
cannot
goal
call another timeout. My
with
guys are
40
in field
seconds
goal block
counting
'cause he called a
down.
field goal before.
Collins got to have a touchdown,
instead
and
of
he
calling
just
a
ran 2
timeout,
plays
allowing
back to
me
back
to get
inside
into
the
my
2-yard
defense, he
line.
ran the play
Nate
for a
made
free
2
touchdown.
stops here. This is coming down to the wire. It's gonna be a good game.
Yeah, the strength of Nate's defense is that front seven. He's got a young front seven, especially that defensive tackle. I believe is a rookie from this last draft, and he's been lights out so far for Nate this season.
Yeah, Tyrann Mathieu actually just made the play in the backfield on a little toss play, but 3rd and goal from the 7, 15 seconds, counting down to 12. Let's see what Colin does here. He is looking to pass, and he does
Good
throw
play.
a dig into the back of the end zone to
Good
Slayton
call.
for the touchdown. 30 to 31, 8 seconds left. Pending an extra point, we have a tie ball game.
Yeah, interesting.
But go ahead, keep talking. And he shanks the extra point. Oh, my
wow.
goodness.
Oh, that's got to be a hard. How many seconds are left in the game?
8 seconds.
Oh, that's it. I mean, like I don't know, unless he gets like an absolute miracle and gets an onside kick, this game's over. I mean, it's done. Wow. Nate's got to be saying his prayers right now.
Nate's got a blank look on his face. I don't know. I don't know if he's happy, relieved, or like confused, or even maybe even disgusted with Madden and its server issues. I don't know. But he's definitely giving one of his finest reactions here. 6 seconds left. He's at a 1-point lead.
More, y'all. This
The
feels
Giants
like a
do have all 3
lose-lose.
timeouts, but yeah, this game's pretty much over. Anyways, back
I'd
to your
rather
game
have
of the week
5
from week
lost
15 and
seasons.
16.
That is the honest
Before
truth.
I cut you off there, I apologize.
The
Oh no,
things
that's
that happen-
that's very very fine because that's a big time play there.
I'd rather
by
have
Colin, then
top
also
10 picks and enjoy
a
all
flop
seasons.
in the same episode.
There's no
Okay,
way
looking at
that
another
field goal was
matchup
not
that
missed on
you could
purpose.
talk about would be, and this is one that I'm going to pick
I'm
because
going to bed, y'all.
I would have picked the Saints and Giants, and I think last week actually we may have talked about that
I'm so
game as well.
confused.
But the one I'm going to pick out is between the Bills and the Dolphins. AFC East matchup. Both teams are actually pretty evenly matched. I know Bill right now is sitting pretty for a playoff spot right now, and the Dolphins are on the fringe looking in. So if he can actually win this game and pull off a couple of wins to end the season, he could possibly sneak in to one of those final spots. Not likely, but possible. Daily League's predicting this score to be 27-24. But looking down through the stats for the teams, there's one stat that really stands out to me the most, and that's offensive red zone percentage. The Bills right now have a 73.5% offensive red zone output, and the Dolphins have a 41.6% offensive red zone output. So I think that could be a really big difference in this game. And of course, if the Dolphins hope to keep their playoff alive in season 104, they're going to have to win this game and win out. But that's going to be my game of the week to watch.
That'll be a good one. I'm definitely looking forward to tuning into that if I can, and depending on what time it's played, I will definitely be looking out for that. There are a number of games that I feel like I could tune into or tell you to tune into. The Bills and the Dolphins, the Packers and the Cardinals, based on what Bird's capable of and Priest has been doing. 49ers, Seahawks, Falcons, Panthers, just because of where Black Cat sits. Obviously, my game versus D. Wayne could be an interesting one. Jets, Colts could be really one. Nipple, Ravens versus Denver's Browns could be a really good one. Then week 16, you got me and Roger, the Browns and the Chiefs, D-Money Packers. There's a handful of games, but the one that I'm going to stick it out with is I'm going to stay in the North, but I'm switching teams, and I'm going to Trey because he plays Black Cats. Black Cats is hot, and I would very interested to see what he is able to bring to a top team in the NFC. Because if he continues to be hot and takes out Trey in week 16 and takes the 7 seed, look for him to make some noise because he's catching fire at the right time. And I would not want to see a guy going as hot as he's going to be coming in if he continues to win and plays some of these teams like Trey or some of these guys. So that's my game of the week to watch. Week 16, I got the Panthers at the Lions. Tune in, should be a good one. There's a handful of other games though coming down the stretch that'll be great games. So you should be able to, another one definitely. Bills, Jets, Cowboys, Commanders when he comes back. Penguins does. So that should be another good one. But yeah, lots of good games. We are looking forward to seeing how those play out. But that's kind of where we're at for this show. We wanted to kind of just touch base, get our show in for the week, keep it about an hour. We had some technical difficulties up front. We hope you kind of look at the new look as I work through some of these technical difficulties and get things figured out. I hope to have everything squared away this week sometime as I'm reaching out to a few guys to try and get everything work. But yeah. I don't have anything else. Cincy Maniac, do you guys have anything else? We even got to tune in and catch a little bit of Nate's game with live updates as Nate once again did pull out a 1-point win as the number 2 seed over the 3 seed Giants. So
I think Priest must have shipped some holy water over to Nate because that was miraculous.
Yeah, that shanked extra point definitely came at probably the worst time that you could have one. I mean, I even said, I was like, barring or depending on a extra point, we had a tie ball game and went to almost click on a different window and all of a sudden I just see the ball shanked to the left and I'm like, oh, whoa.
So it's your fault.
Nah, not my fault. I was just watching. I'm, a witness. Don't have any part of it.
You jinxed it.
We definitely, like I said, a lot of good games to watch. And yes, Trey, I do see your comment. You are the game to watch for Week 16 for me, with Panthers being as hot as he is. The reason I pick it, and I will give you this heads up, the reason I pick it is, I believe it was Week 14. Yeah, Week 14, you lost to Bill 16-7. I did not see that. And for him to hold you to 7 points is impressive. So kudos to Bill. And I'm just shocked to see how some of these things. But then, you see the other games we talked about a little bit earlier. Browns and Dolphins 43-40. Lots of games. Lots of great games. Like I said, down the stretch, we have a lot of parity. Cincy, what do you have, or would you like to put... what would you like to put in for this to wrap this show up?
Well, being as the through here, working.
Yep.
Sounds like it.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. As we just saw, the Giants. He is 5. He's back. He went the race in the NFC East.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be one for the ages. I mean, we've got, like I said early on the show, we covered it. The AFC is pretty much set, based on some seedings. The NFC, we got 2 or 3 teams fighting for that last playoff spot, but the other 6, with just some seedings, could be shifted around. But I mean, we got Denver sitting in a 6 seed. Watch out for that. We got Kobe playing hot, who's now taking control over and is the 1 seed. Does D Money show up? Lots of things that we covered, lots to tune into, lots of games to catch. What we will give you a little preview is our next week's show. We will have not only a recap of what has taken place from here until then, and then we'll also talk about our season 104 MVPs of who we feel the MVP of the OMFL is on both sides of the ball. So we'll do a little bit of MVP chatter, and look forward to maybe even some off-season moves, draft moves, who to keep an eye out, as we look forward to the season 105 off-season going into that season 105. But until then, that's all I got. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoy the show. If you guys have anything that you want us to cover, talk about, please reach out. We appreciate you guys listening to our show. Peace. Have a good week, guys.
Later.
Uh-oh.
Ruh-roh.